It's been a really long journey, and honestly, being on two wheels has been crazy. And this dates all the way back to pretty much early 2000s. But how I would describe where I'm at right now with bikes and everything, it's honestly insane. I've never felt so accomplished following this passion of mine for motorcycles and bikes in general. I just never thought I would be here in this moment. I built my own bike, having the opportunity to be persistent and just accomplishing goals from time to time. I never thought I would be building a bike like this, or even get this far with motorcycles, I guess. Even though I don't have like an actual gas-powered motorcycle, I wanted to share my story on how I got to this point with stuff like this. I remember the time I started riding my bike to elementary school, and this was like 3rd, 4th grade. I remember I wasn't able to learn to ride a bike without training wheels until I was almost 9 or 10. And that's pretty late for a lot of kids. I wasn't the type of person to learn off of training wheels until I was almost my double digits. And I didn't have a strong passion for bikes or anything. It's just one of the things I liked doing as a kid. Obviously, I only lived down the street, which is why I pretty much took my bike to school almost every day instead of walking, because it was faster to get home, faster to get to school, and I was one of the very few kids that took their bikes to school while everyone else got dropped off and everything. As elementary days pass on and I go straight to middle school, I didn't really get to ride my bike that much because my middle school was in the middle of town and I lived just right outside. So I spent more of my time pretty much walking or just getting picked up from school. But that was probably the least amount of times I rode my bike after I learned to ride a bicycle without training wheels. And then going into high school, I remember taking my bike to high school majority of the time because, well, I would say it's more than half of the time because I actually, like I said, I lived down the street from the high school this time because I had moved. And I remember first time getting that bike, and it was a silver one. And I no longer have it anymore, but that bike brought me so many memories. And it has been through numerous years. And I remember when I got that bike for the first time, it was actually one of my older cousins' old bikes that they used to have, but never really rode it anymore. And so I got a hold of it, and I started taking that bike everywhere I go. With that bike, I've taken that bike everywhere. It has been through a lot of the high school moments when obviously COVID was a thing, when I started going on adventures with Chandler. That was when we first started pretty much bike life. That's when bike life originated. Ever since then, I took that bike everywhere. So it was quite the adventure. And then going into college, I took my car more, and I started having a passion for cars. So there's another big gap on me not even taking my bike, because I got a new car and I didn't feel the need to take the bike anymore until senior year of college. So when college came through and I was almost done, I was about to graduate, e-bikes started to become popular, and I was probably one of the very few to even have one, especially a moped style e-bike. I remember getting that thing for the first time, and it was a game changer. Something about having a motor for a bicycle, it has been one of the rarest things, like, for decades when I was younger. And now that finally e-bikes are popular, you could see them like literally everywhere. And having an e-bike definitely changed a lot of things. Like, I wanted to take that thing more than my car. There's nothing more that I wanted to do than to just ride. And going back to high school, that was when I started having a real strong passion for bikes and motorcycles. And the biggest inspiration is G-Bear. Now, he used to be called Grommy Bear back in 2018, until he changed his name later on in his YouTube career to G-Bear. And he's been the biggest inspiration for motorcycles, aside from my father. My father has owned a motorcycle before I was even born. And he still has a motorcycle to this day, and he has one of the most beautiful bikes ever. And I think especially because of my father and G-Bear and all these other moto vloggers and e-moto YouTubers, they've definitely inspired me to do something like this. Now, for the longest time, I've always wanted a sport bike, or any motorcycle in general, so I guess I wasn't very specific on this year being about bike life, because literally anything with a motor can pretty much be a motorcycle. But for something like this, I honestly think this is pretty much a motorcycle. You can name any Sur-Ron, Talaria, E-Ride Pro, even a Stark Varg. They're pretty much motorcycles at this point. You wouldn't really call them e-bikes or bicycles at all, because of their performance and their design. And on top of that, now that I've been inspired for the past few years, I've always wanted pretty much a Sur-Ron. I honestly don't know where I'm going to go with this project, but so far I've done things that I never thought I could have done, like building this thing, or the fact that I had to drop absurd amounts of money and time and effort to do something like this. And honestly, I think it's kind of worth it. It definitely brings a lot of memory. It's going to bring a lot of memories when I look back on this time period. Because for me, I've kind of been known to try new things, and if I would put my mind to it, I just set out and just go do it. And that's pretty much what I did with this. Now, in terms of getting a motorcycle, it's definitely going to take a lot more effort than what I just did here with this thing. But I live by myself. I have no financial assist. I'm doing this all on my own, and I managed to do what I need to do, what I wanted to do with this thing, on top of taking care of myself and occasionally enjoying myself while I'm at it. And you know, some days are hard because you gotta work a lot, but in the end, when you pull all that effort and you get the result and you get it done, something amazing just happens, and this just happens to be one of them. Getting a motorcycle at this point, it's really close. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm pretty close to getting a motorcycle. And if you count e-motos and such as motorcycles, and I pretty much accomplished this year. But the amount of money I dropped in this bike, and all the things I've done with it, and the value that I put for this thing, it's pretty much about as much as a beginner used motorcycle. And if I really wanted to do it, I could literally do it right now. But I actually enjoyed this thing. And another thing is, I wonder what it feels like to own a Suron, Talaria, E-Ride Pro, all that. And I can literally do the same thing and trade it in and sell it and sell this bike and basically flip my way up to the Suron level of e-motos. But for me, I kind of enjoy this thing, but I kind of don't, because there's still little iffy things about this bike that just doesn't really fit into the bike, because, you know, when you build something, sometimes things don't go your way, or something is not going to be perfect. But in the end, it's a beautiful build, and everyone compliments you about it, and they're proud of you accomplishing it. And that's why I like this thing, and why I'm keeping it a little bit. But literally at any moment, if I ever wanted to trade this thing in to accomplish owning a Suron, accomplishing owning an actual motorcycle, or what some bikers say, a real bike, this is a bike. And it doesn't what makes it a real bike? I mean, it's got a motor, it's got a throttle, it's got 2 wheels, and it keeps up with traffic. What more do you ask for at that point? Especially if I live in a small town like this. I know for big cities, they're very popular. You can get around, don't have to worry about traffic, yada yada yada. It's great. You can take this anywhere. Real motorcycles may have more limits and restrictions than e-motos, so maybe I want to experience the 14 kilowatts of sheer chaos of its E-Ride Pro and Suron. Maybe I want to try that out first. And if I think, nah, I'm not sure if I'm into this kind of riding style, then I would actually get a motorcycle. But other than that, I feel like e-motos are kind of my style, because 1, you can take them anywhere, and 2, they're pretty unique. Like, for the longest time, for centuries, maybe even centuries, motorcycles have been the thing. But for something that's electric, with this advanced technology we have in this generation, anything's pretty much possible. And how e-bikes became popular is just absolutely fascinating. You're starting to see them all around the world, and to some people, they're pretty unique. You know, it's something you don't see every day. I think the one thing with riding is you feel more freedom. You embrace the earth, its atmosphere, its weather, and everything. When you ride on 2 wheels, you feel the air, you feel, how would you describe it? You feel the air just breeze right around you. And you feel like you're just floating in space. And you feel the amazing weather, the amazing nature that this earth has created. I don't know, you guys are gonna have to explain in the comments, how do you guys feel when you ride? When you ride a bike, when you ride a motorcycle, what do you feel? What do you physically feel? What do you emotionally feel? Does it make you happy? Does it make you feel relaxed? Do you feel safe? And that might just be questionable. I don't know how you would describe such feeling on 2 wheels. But every single time I go out and ride, and I get quite a bit of looks, and it's not the bad kind of looks. It's the kind of looks that's like, I have never seen anything like that before, or that's pretty unique, that's pretty cool. What is that? But I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I loved writing and why this is my passion now. Because especially if you have weather like this, and it could be any season except winter, but that's not the point. One of the main reasons why I love writing is the journey you take, the adventure you take. And it's a lot more fun when you have more than one person doing the same thing. Because then you can build connections and bonds and all that. But writing alone, not only it helps me calm down and, you know, kind of step out of reality, but at the same time you're in reality because you're riding literally a bike, and you obviously have to be aware of your surroundings and everything, but mentally and emotionally I feel relaxed. I feel a sense of enjoyment. And I don't know if you guys ever felt that way before. I really hope in the future I make more memories with something like this. And I know the dangers of riding a motorcycle and all this stuff. And, you know, not a lot of people want to put themselves in danger with this thing. But as long as you do something that you love, it shouldn't matter. But you should be aware of the risks that you're going to take when you do stuff like this. So to all my young viewers out there that watch YouTube, watch Saronster, G-Bear, or any moto vlogger, and you want to get something that they have, e-moto, e-bikes, motorcycles, I'm going to tell you one thing. And this is something I didn't think I was going to do now, but if I was ever your guys' young age, especially in high school, if you want to do something and get something that you truly want and definitely want to experience, go out there and do it. Even if that means getting a job, saving up a lot of money, be respectful to your people, your parents, your loved ones. You know, work hard for it. Because in the end, they're either going to gift it to you because you earned it, or if they don't encourage it, but you still want to do it, the only way is if you prove it to them and prove everyone wrong. Because there's going to be a lot of bad influence, and people are going to tell you, there's no way you're going to get that at that age. Or you were definitely spoiled, or it was daddy's money or something like that. But what matters is how hard you worked for it and how you got there and how you accomplished it. Because for me, I did this all on my own. And obviously I've had people on the road tell me, you're just not confident enough to get a real bike. Or why don't you just risk all this and just get it ASAP or as soon as possible. But I'm like, I'm doing it my own way and I'm doing it at my own pace. And in the end, still managed to build this thing. Still managed to have the time of my life, and still have yet to even go even further on something that I want to do and what I love doing. But this is pretty much my story on how my passion is where it's at and how it led up to this. I don't know if you guys ever I don't know if you guys ever relate to this, but I remember when I was riding bikes as a kid that I would always imitate motorcycle sounds. Goofy, right? But eventually, if you dream hard enough and you work hard for it, you won't have to make noises anymore, because then you'll just have it. You'll just have the motorcycle that makes the noise, and life can't get any better than that. Alright, I'm going to wrap it up for today's video. Like I said, my story, how I got to this point with bikes, and why I love riding. And if you guys have any stories to share, leave it down below in the comments. Share your story. I want to hear about it. Some other people want to hear about it. But for me, I just really wish I should have started this sooner, because I never thought I'd love riding bikes more than anything. If you guys are going to come back to the channel or want to see some more content, hit that subscribe button, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next video. Yeet.